Hey KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at Allen Fieldhouse. I'm Matt Tate with Benton Smith, and Benton promised you when we were in Kansas City yesterday at the Sprint Center that we would talk to you today. Well, here we are today.
It's Selection Sunday. I said we would talk on Selection Sunday.
And you're talking,
I'm a
you
man
just
of
did
my
it.
word.
We do. We're here to talk brackets. The bracket is out. KU's a 4 seed in the Midwest, and we now know if the Jayhawks want to get one of those, they're going to have to go through Salt Lake City, Kansas City, and then Minneapolis to do it. It's a weird road, right?
Strange. Yeah. I was really surprised that they ended up getting in that Midwest region to the chance to play in Kansas City potentially. Obviously, with this team, we know there's a long way to go before we can really start digging into that or considering that as like a legit possibility. I mean, you got to beat Northeastern. Northeastern's a team that hits three-pointers. They play 4 guards. I mean, we've seen KU struggle against those two things. The teams that shoot 3-pointers, teams that play 4 guards. We saw it against Iowa State yesterday.
Right. Yeah, it's a dogfight. I mean, anytime you're seated outside of the top 1 or 2, even sometimes those 15s and 16s can be tough for a half or 30 minutes. Certainly tougher than those top seeds like. But if you're 3, 4, 5, 6, you start getting down there, your first round opponent's going to be good, and Northeastern is good. Benton was surprised KU's the 4 seed in the Midwest. You know who else was? Bill Self. When he was asked that, his face just paused, and he said, yes. Almost shocked that we're in the Midwest, but also happy. He loves that. I mean, the idea that you get a chance to go win 2 games this weekend against teams seated lower than you, and your reward for that, which is also great incentive, is that you get to come back home, sleep in your own bed, hang out here, and drive down the road 40 minutes to a place you've played a ton of games. That's about as favorable of a draw as you can get, because look, this team is not a 1 or a 2 seed. No one thought that. They're not, you know, they were close to the 3 range on the final S curve thing, but they got what they are. They're a 4 seed, and so no one's really crying foul or saying that they got jobbed. You know, you get used to that this time of year. All the fans say Kansas got the hardest region, and as a 1 seed, it should have been easier. Well, none of that this year. They got the 4 seed. They got what they deserved, and if they keep playing well in this tournament, they get to play in Kansas City. You can't ask for more than that.
That's nuts. And obviously, when you look at the bracket, you see that North Carolina on the top, and you just think about North Carolina and KU and Bill Self versus Roy Williams and how those have gone in the NCAA tournament, and you think Roy cannot be happy right now.
There's 3 on this end, and there's 0 on this end. It's an incredible thing that the committee, and look, you know, the conspiracy theorists out there say, hey, this happens. They do this all the time. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't believe that. I don't think they looked at this and said, what we want to do is we want to set up Kansas, North Carolina, Sweet 16, Kentucky. Take that. You know, that didn't happen. This was a mathematical thing. It was how the bracket fell, how the rankings fell, and goodness gracious, if we get that game, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do, and I think Roy probably feels the same way right now. But the crazy thing is, Kentucky's the 2, Iowa State's a 6, playing as well as a handful of teams in this tournament.
All in the Midwest region.
All in the Midwest.
Potentially could be in Kansas City.
That could be your 4. Kansas, Carolina, Kentucky, Iowa State. That ticket would be impossible to get.
Good luck on the secondary market.
As crazy as Big Blue Nation is, and as crazy as those Iowa State fans are that we just saw this weekend, it's hard to think that KU would have the majority of the tickets. Now, maybe in that Carolina game, but gosh, it's a session ticket. You know, it's not like they sell single game tickets. So Big Blue Nation would eat those up for the Kentucky fans, and Iowa State's fans are going to find their tickets too. So weird to think that Kansas could be the 3rd most represented team as far as a fan base goes, and insane to think that the number 1 seed in that region could have by far the worst fan support there. You know, that's a whole other story, whether it's fair or not. No one cares. Maybe Ben's going to write about that. I don't know. Check it out, KUsports.com. But the reality is, it's a tough bracket. That was Bill Self's initial thoughts. Hey, he said hard, but he wasn't even talking about Carolina and Kentucky yet. He was talking about
those 4 teams in Salt Lake City.
Northeastern and Auburn, who just crushed Tennessee. Auburn's the 5 seed, and then New Mexico State, who played KU of all places, at Sprint Center in
Right.
Kansas City in a tough game back in December. So, yeah, you know what? The deal is you got to play well to advance. You're going to play good teams, whether it's round 1 or round 6. That's the reality of this tournament. Any final thoughts about KU's draw? We'll get into it all week and obviously dive into Northeastern a little more and the bracket itself. But any other thoughts about KU's draw?
I thought it was interesting that Bill Self was asked about kind of the 4-guard potential, and obviously you just played Iowa State.
Right.
He made a pretty good point. They prepared for Iowa State by having a walkthrough for about 20 minutes. They've got 4 days
Right.
to prepare for Northeastern.
Right.
So, I mean, they're going to have to be ready. They're going to have to take away 3-point shots because that's a team that has 4 guys that can hit them. And that'll be difficult to defend. And how many times do we see some team that you've never heard of or never seen play comes into the tournament as a low seed like that, gets hot from 3, and they're moving on.
Yeah, they look a lot like Kansas last year. Bunch of
As
guys
far as
shooting
3-point shooters, yeah.
close to 40%, some above the 40% mark. I mean, if there's one team and one coach who knows what that looks like, it's this guy. You know, he had it last year and he took it to the Final Four. He had it the year before that, took it to the Elite 8. So it'll be really interesting to see that matchup. I mean, you know, guys like Marcus Garrett, Ochai Agbaji, obviously Devon Dotson, Quentin Grimes, they're going to have to be sharp, but it'll be really interesting to see if Kansas can use its size advantage with Diedrich at the 5 or David McCormick at the 5 and playing through those guys a little bit better than they did against Iowa State, because it was non-existent against Iowa State. It was very early, or very obvious early, it wasn't going to work, and it didn't. And Iowa State forced KU to play 4 guards, and we saw what happened. So you're right, full week almost to prepare. KU plays Northeastern 4 versus 13 at approximately 3. It'll probably be closer to 3:15 on Thursday on TNT. So plenty of time to get ready for that game. You don't have to get up early. You don't have to stay up late. Right there in the middle of the day. You may have to take off work or school or whatever, but
That's preferable, though.
come on, it's March.
First day of the tournament,
Yeah,
don't go to work.
yeah, you don't need to be there. It's March Madness, and we'll have all your coverage here before we head out to Salt Lake, and of course once we get to Salt Lake City, the Great Salt Lake. Ever been there?
Home of Karl Malone
There you
and
go.
John Stockton. Yeah.
Ever been there?
No. Nobody in this
Shane,
building.
have you ever
has
been there?
to
Behind the
Utah, I
camera?
think.
Shake that thing, let him know. There you go, he says no. I've been through the airport, that's about it. I've been to other parts of Utah, but never the Great Salt Lake. So we'll see if we can run down Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, see what those guys are up to. Maybe they'll come on KU Sports Extra.
See if that angry Jazz fan that.
No, we don't want to talk to that guy. We don't want to talk to that guy. You know who he is. But we will be there covering everything KU does, of course, from the time they arrive to the time the final horn sounds on their last game there, win or lose. KU Northeastern, Thursday, round 1 of the NCAA tournament. It's tournament time. We'll be there. Thanks for checking out KU Sports Extra and KUsports.com throughout the week.